Okay, so have you ever just been rushing to try to get things done and then you just forget what you were doing or you make a small mistake? So that's what happened to me right now earlier today. I recorded this full video and there was no sound at all. Apparently my mic was unplugged. I need to get a long cord or something. I don't know. Or just change my setup around. Neither here or there. I know you don't care about that. But I'm just saying that sometimes we make our lives a little bit more difficult because we don't take the time to sit here and think and breathe about what we're going to do next. We just are in a rush to get to the finish line. So with that being said, we're going to talk about Tracee Ellis Ross today. Now, I will say, I'm going to start this video off with a bunch of compliments. Tracee Ellis Ross, the very beautiful, talented, funny Tracee Ellis Ross, the most, I won't say the most, but a very beautiful 52-year-old woman who could still thirst trap a 25-year-old man, most likely. That Tracee Ellis Ross. Now, Tracee Ellis Ross comes from a life of privilege. Her mother is obviously Diana Ross, and she grew up not wanting for anything. She always grew up with fame. Now, with that being said, I can honestly say she has worked hard. Now, my first remembrance or my first memory of Tracee Ellis Ross is from her being on the Lyrics Lounge show. It was a very funny hip hop sketch comedy show. It was kind of like a lighter version of In Living Color. So I guess you could say the show was a little bit ahead or behind its time. It was in that little gray area where people really wasn't checking for sketch comedy shows like that too much. But if you are able to find it, it was an MTV show, if I remember correctly, you have one heck of a laugh. That was my first memory of her. Not Girlfriends, not Grownish or Blackish or whatever else. It was that show from the early 2000s. Okay, so with that being said, Tracee Ellis Ross had a interview with Michelle Obama and her brother. Now, the interview itself was 55 minutes long, and it didn't have her on there the whole entire time. But the part that I have everybody talking is her viewpoint of relationships in general. Now, before I get into that too much further, let's rewind time a little bit. About 3 years ago, Kevin Samuels did mention that, a woman like Tracee Ellis Ross would have trouble finding a man and somebody that would take her seriously around her age. Fast forward to today, that ended up proving to be true. I know a lot of people didn't like Kevin Samuels, but he did call things for what they really was. In a sense, he was kind of a prophet of his time. That just wasn't appreciated. Anyways, back to Tracee Ellis Ross. Now, I didn't know she was never married and didn't have any kids. For some reason, I guess her brother, I thought that was her son for the longest time. That's just me and my own ignorance. And that's fine about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the clip about Kevin Samuels said first.
I mean, we've talked about this, that often I date younger.
Men are not selecting Tracee Ellis Ross's. Not for marriage. She can still get it. There are a lot of guys who would slay that easy. Would have no problem even being seen with her in public. But would a man that she wants do it? Let's say, imagine the man that Tracee Ellis Ross would get. Chances are he would be younger. Maybe some up and coming young actor. Can you imagine a woman like Tracee Ellis Ross with a 58-year-old CEO of a Fortune 50 company, an accomplishment? No, they needed a completely different woman. And that's the ultimate point. The longer you're by yourself, the less likely you are a good fit for anybody else.
And that statement right there is very powerful. The longer you are with yourself, the least likely you'll be with somebody else. And that's a very true statement, because you got to think about it. The longer you've been single, the more you told yourself you don't need another partner. You end up working by yourself, making more of your own accomplishments and things of that nature. So I can very well see how it will be harder for you to want to mold and come together with a person, because the person that you're going to be with ideally should be with you for better or for worse, for sickness and health, and just do everything. You're supposed to put each other first. It's hard to put another person first when you always put yourself first. You wouldn't know how to do that, and that could cause a lot of problems in a relationship. Kind of sad seeing Kevin drinking that Red Bull, to be honest with you, considering that's could be a contributing factor how you end up leaving the world kind of early. But let's go into that interview that I was talking about that I played a little bit.
I mean, we've talked about this, that often I date younger men. And a lot of it is because...
Let's stop on that, folks.
Oh my God, we had a great dinner.
And you see, here's the thing I don't like. And again, I'm going to play the whole entire thing, but this is my own personal bias and opinion on this. That I do not like married women having single friends. In the reverse, I don't think a married man should have single friends. And I'll get on a slight difference off the story for a little bit, but still in the same realm of the topic. Like, for example, myself, when I was married, I didn't like the influence my ex-wife's single friends had on her. Compared to me, I knew how my single friends were. So I distanced myself from them just for the fact that I didn't want to be influenced to make a wrong decision, to be encouraged to do things that would go against my marriage and vows. However, my ex-wife leaned more into that with her friends and her behaviors and her beliefs, and that caused a lot of conflict in our relationship. So when you see Michelle Obama sitting here snapping her fingers for this, and the rumors is going around about the difficultness and the infidelities and yada 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 when it comes to their marriage, it kind of makes you question, what is the cause?
We had a great dinner, by the way, where across the table, your husband goes, "But why?" And I said, "Well, maybe because I can."
Yes, This is what I'm saying. Tales from Tracee's.
It's fun. It's really fun to share.
Tracy tale.
But
I'm sorry.
But one of the reasons, though, that because I had to ask myself that question, I was like, "What is this about?"
Yeah.
Because I want a partner, and so often, and it's not just that I'm older. I'm also very embodied. I am a full, very whole person who knows myself, who is in charge of my life, and who lives a very full, just robust life. So it's not just age, it's like life experience and sort of a difference. But I had to ask myself the question, why? Why does this keep sort of coming up other than they're hot and gorgeous? There's that.
So, okay, you're older. And you said, why does this keep coming up? Because they're just hot and gorgeous. When you hear that statement, that kind of sounds like something that God would say. But what I have noticed, there's really not too much difference between men and women when they have their conversations with their own friend groups, you're right? Women can be just as crass as vulgar as men, but it is better at disguising it for the most part, right? But with her saying that I'm guessing she's choosing her mates. At least that's what I'm taking away from by how they look. Instead of the substance of their character could be an issue to why she's single now. And again, she may not consider it an issue. She could be very happy crying in her millions and millions of dollars. But when you get older, especially her in her 52, closer to her retirement age than to her prime, you're going to want to have somebody share that with. And there's going to be a point to where she's going to ask herself that any man that she's with, are they with her just for the fact that she's Tracee Ellis Ross, who's a multi-millionaire with a legacy that's up there with the Jacksons? Or is it somebody genuinely that really wants her, for her? Because let's be real here. I mentioned before, the first time I heard Tracee Ellis Ross was back in the early 2000s when she was on a Lyrics Lounge show. Not too many people knew who she was. So she could have found a partner at that particular time that genuinely liked her and loved her for her. They could have got to know her at the character, her personal character. Anybody she knows now, or she meets or talks to now, they're going to automatically know who she is. They're going to think about her thirst trap Instagram posts. They're going to think about Blackish and Grownish and Girlfriends and all this other kind of stuff. And they're going to think about her mother and the money that's going to come with it. So it's going to be hard for her to probably let her guard down and connect with somebody now that she has accomplished everything she's done, because now she knows she's going to be at the point to where anybody she finds, she's most likely going to have to take care of. They're not going to be on her level. They won't probably try to get to genuinely connect and know her. They're going to want to know the legacy of her.
But a lot of men my age are steeped in a toxic masculinity and have been raised in a culture where there is a particular way that a relationship looks.
So my question is, what is toxic masculinity to her? And this clip is almost over with, so she doesn't get into too much detail about it. But when I hear a woman say toxic masculinity, a lot of the time is them not wanting a man who is more traditional. compared to, today they have more men that are stay-at-home men and, more emotional things of that nature. When I hear toxic masculinity, it's normally men that are sitting here who will hold in their emotions, try to find a way, try to find a provide, that their wife is their wife, which is in a sense their possession. Now, I know that word possession is triggering for some people, but ideally, if you're married, you belong to me and I belong to you. So yes, it doesn't seem like she wants that. So it kind of seems like she just wants somebody just to hang out with, just to have a little bit of fun that she could call when things get hard, but not make that full commitment to.
And anything that starts to smell of that for me, I did enough of it where I was controlled and felt like I was a possession or whatever those things were, or prize, I have no interest in it, and I will not do it again.
And that's the thing I kind of have a trouble with right there. When you hear that and you think about it for a second, like I mentioned before, whenever you are married, you are each other's possessions. That's just what it is. However, though, when it comes to Miss Ross and Mrs. Obama, I would have liked to have heard, because again, the interview is 55 minutes. I think Tracee comes in around the 15-minute mark, along those lines. I would really love for Michelle to really speak on the benefits of being married, of what it's like to belong to another person and to grow and help each other to develop. Because I've always said that Barack Obama would never become president of the United States without Michelle. Michelle gave him the credibility of a Black American man, compared to if Barack Obama was married to an Asian, white woman, Hispanic woman, etc. You know what I mean? So they both helped each other grow. And of course, she has definitely made Obama's goals come forth more than hers, but she also had a wonderful, great career too. With that being said, I really wish Michelle would have spoke on that aspect when it came to the interview. Instead of kind of celebrating her single friends, dating or marriage goals. I see there's 4 people currently watching. Thank you for watching. Go ahead and subscribe or leave a comment. We can have a discussion about this. I was just pretty much talking about Tracee Ellis Ross, talking about dating pretty much at 52 years old. I won't say it's a time for her to hang it up, but I will say is, though, at 52 and with what she has built, she's not going to find anybody that may genuinely love and want her for her. They're going to look at her, the legacy she comes from. They're going to look at her, see what she has built, and may want to take part of that or use that to advance their own careers. And even Kevin Samuels, when I played the clip earlier, said that, Tracee Ellis Ross, a man would definitely let her take that down, but anybody that she's going to get is somebody that's pretty much an up and coming actor that she's going to have to take care of. And when you see this interview with her, or when she joined the podcast, on a serious interview, when she joined with Michelle Obama and her brother, it made Kevin Samuels' words come true, very much so. And that's kind of unfortunate. She seems like a nice person. She's definitely a very attractive woman. I would never take that away from her. But outside of being nice and attractive, can you sit here and humble yourself to grow and mold yourself to be with another person? Because I've always felt that whenever you're married, 2 people become one. You gotta cleave yourself from your family and cleave yourself to each other, and make sure you have a strong and wonderful union. I'm pretty liberal on a lot of things, but when it comes to marriage and having a partner, I'm pretty, I guess you could say, more traditional in that sense. Well, that's all I really had to say. If you have watched, thank you for watching. If you like what I had to say, go back and watch it. Leave a comment. I appreciate you guys. Have a good day. Thank you.